Good morning, A-Day students. I wanted to walk you through your assignment for today. And I thought it'd be a little bit easier than just typing something out for the sub if I could just walk you through it and show you exactly what you're going to do. So the first thing, you have navigated yourself to our Google Classroom, obviously. If you go to the classwork tab, you'll see a section here called observations. And so what I want to introduce to you today is how we are going to do our round 2 observations, at least right now. And so this document right here is what you need to open up. So click on the round 2 observation directions, and you'll pull up something like this. Now let's talk through this for a second, because after we discuss it, you are actually going to do an observation today in class. That might sound a little weird, but hopefully by the time I'm done talking about this, it will make sense why that's even a possibility. So up here at the top, I'm just reminding you of a goal of this course based on U of L's requirements. So you have a goal that is to complete 19 documented observations by the beginning of May. And that is specific to the University of Louisville for this class. Now, we should have, depending on if you were present and able to take every observation opportunity in the fall when we were in person, you should have somewhere around 8 or 9 hours documented. Now, if you were out, if you were quarantined, if something got in the way of that, you might have less. But bottom line is you have some hours that you have documented. And so, typo, let's fix that. So in doing the observations prior to NTI, you documented those observations in 3 ways. And so I've attached here the 3 different forms, and I want to briefly just put our eyeballs on it, on each of these, so that you know what you should have done in case you maybe didn't. You can backtrack on that. So for U of L, every time you went to do an observation, you filled out this observation tool. And the observation tool, I thought it would, open preview. The observation tool was this chart. And so you would sit in a class and you would write about the environment, and then you would write about the teaching style, and then you would write about the curriculum, and you would write about diversity. So you filled out one of these for every observation that you did. Then there were 2 forms. Feels a little redundant, I know. I'm not exactly sure why there are 2 different forms for U of L, but there are. Maybe one goes to one department and another form goes to another department. I'm not sure. But this is one running document that you are keeping of your observation hours. So you put the date, you put who you observed, what times you observed, and you had the teacher sign it. The second form looks like this. So it's another chart, but the alternating rows are shaded. And so this was also supposed to be filled out for every observation hour or every observation opportunity that you took first semester. The same documentation has to be filled out as we move forward, but we're going to approach collecting our observations differently second semester. And so we're going to be using, I'm rolling into this section right here, we're going to be using recorded video segments from North Oldham Middle to document our observations for second semester. My hope is, and I'm right here in the text, that if after spring break, maybe our schools open up a little bit, people have the vaccines, I could get some of you all into the elementary school to see live elementary classes. But for right now, we're going to be observing middle school classes using these pre-recorded segments that I'm getting ready to show you. So for our second hour observations, here's kind of how we're going to do that. The first thing is select from this list a teacher and a topic that you want to observe. Okay. Then you have to read the content box, which is on this list. You'll watch the video, and then you'll still document in the same way that you did up here. So you'll fill out an observation form and you'll document on the 2 different spreadsheet looking things. And so let's take a look at this list. I'm going to pull it up nice and big so that we can see it. This is really like a menu of things that you might want to observe at the middle school level. And so the format of the document, here's the teacher's name. You might recognize these teachers from when you were at North Middle, if you were there. Then the next box or the next column is the focus. And so the teacher has given a focus for that particular recording. So it looks like whoever this is, Peters, they focused on questioning. And so if you would like to see how a teacher works on questioning, asking questions back and forth, encouraging students to ask questions of each other, you could watch their video. Now, the context piece is important because we are not in the classroom. The individual teachers that had their classes recorded, they included a little blurb here that gives you some context about the classroom. It gives you some context about the content, maybe the students in the class, the lesson that they're in the middle of learning. So context is super important before you just jump to the video. And so in the instructions on the page that we were just looking at right here, after you select a teacher and topic, the first thing you're going to do is read that context box. Then you go on and watch the video. So the video is linked out here at the very end. And some of the videos you'll notice were actually recorded when we were on NTI, so they're Google Meets. But other videos are of them actually in the class. So let's see if I hover. Oh, it's not going to give me the thumbnail. Well, you'll see which ones when you click on them are NTI versus in the class. So this is how we're going to document our next couple of observations. And I know that they're not a full hour of class. And I know that as you watch the video, you're going to have to be kind of scanning around the room, looking at the background of the classroom to kind of talk about things like classroom environment. But this is sort of how we're able to get our eyeballs into a class right now in COVID times. The other thing I would point out about this document, check out the tabs at the bottom. So it's not just one set. These are date ranges. So these are teachers that recorded in this date range. Here's the next week. So these tabs offer you lots of different, make sure you're clicking on them to see all the different options as you choose what you want to observe. And the later ones are most likely going to be actual classrooms if you don't want to observe a Google Meet. Although I would say observing a Google Meet, this is a year unlike any other in education. So it could be interesting to have a Google Meet observation built in for your assignment at the end of the year when you kind of talk about education, when you submit your paper to U of L, your big like culminating thing to U of L. It could be interesting to have some observations of Google Meets. Okay, so long story short, you're going to do one of these observations today. So you've got your direction sheet right here back on Classroom. And remember, the direction sheet has the forms linked to it. So if you need the observation form, here it is. Make a copy of it for yourself and use it. You're going to go through this process of opening the document, selecting a teacher that you would like to observe, watch their video. There are a few teachers which kindly recorded videos that are like 5 minutes long. Those are too short for an observation. So in here, number 3, watch the video. I would select videos that are hovering around 15 minutes, 12 to 15, 20 minutes, and let that be your observation. 5 minutes is not enough to fill out that observation tool fully. So today in class, you have the chance to do your first round 2 observation. Beyond this, the observations will move to your at-home days. So you won't be given any more time in class to do these. They're recorded. You can do them at home. Last thing that I want to point out is this bold down here at the bottom as a heads up, so nobody is surprised. I'm going to ask for all of your documentation, all of your observation forms, your hours forms, etc., prior to spring break, so that I can get a check on where you are with your hours, how your observation forms are looking. So I wanted to let you know that I am going to be asking for this documentation before you leave for spring break. Okay, if you have questions, you can send me texts on the Remind text group, but you go and do your first observation using this new format. Have a good Wednesday.